Thank you so much for joining in on another reading of Bury Me Home. My name is Sahar Ullah, and I am the artist and playwright, and I will be reading for me.
I am Christina, and I'm going to be reading for Nasreen.
Hi, I'm Diana, and I'll be reading for Hasna.
Hi, I'm Kamini, and I'll be reading for Samina.
Part 1, Introductions. I know you know me, but for the recording's sake, I'm going to say my name. My name is Sahar Ishtiaque Ullah. I was born in 1982 in Fort Lauderdale, USA. What is your name? When were you born? Where were you born?
Samira Akhtar Jahan, 1956, Chittagong, in a hospital.
Samina Noor, 1970, Chittagong, in a hospital.
Nasreen Kudus, I was born in Jessore. I was born at home.
And when were you born, Auntie?
Oh, a long, long time ago, 1950. It's on my Facebook.
Part 2, the Liberation War. Where were you during the 1971 war?
I was first in Feni. I was in 10th grade when the war started. The schools closed. I went to the village. Then we went back to Feni. Then back to Chittagong. I remember our people went to India.
My parents said they took us to the countryside, to the villages. They stayed with family.
I just finished my master's at Dhaka University. We lived in Kakrail.
What do you most remember from that time?
Rajaka dropped bombs. I still remember the sounds. One bomb would explode and form a lake, a big pond. At night, they were falling.
My parents remember hearing the bombs.
There were bombs we could hear every day.
What do you most remember from that time?
I just didn't think those days would come back. Everybody wants to forget.
My mama was in the Muslim League. My father was in the Army League. A lot of refugees stayed at our home.
I don't remember much.
Because you were a baby? Do you remember your parents talking about it, Auntie?
Mostly my mother told stories. I learned about the war in school. In Bangladesh, a lot of people died. That's the sad part. But after the war, they won. We all used to feel great that Bangladesh is an independent country. It was good for our country. When it was under Pakistan, we didn't have a lot of opportunities.
What do you most remember from that time?
My uncle was involved in revolutionary activity. He was arrested in jail until the war ended. I remember the night the war broke out. My aunt jumped across the brick wall. Where she went, we did not know. She was hiding because she was afraid she was going to be arrested too.
What do you most remember from that time?
It lasted for 9 months. It was horrible after that. We basically hid inside our home. We survived on molasses, milk, rice, and lentils. The people in villages suffered so much. My uncle had hired workers from Pakistan. He sheltered them. When all these areas were taken over by the Pakistani army, my uncle was arrested and ordered to be killed. The workers pleaded for his life. He was released. His house was looted. They would come inside and attack people for different reasons. Young women, young men. I remember one day a tank stopping in front of the house. My father was so nervous he asked for a cup of tea.
He thought it might make him feel better, huh?
It was so funny.
Do you remember when the war was over?
Yes, that time I was in Chittagong. The day my grandpa died. First day, the war finished in Dhaka. The next day, the war ended in Chittagong. My nana died that day. My mom and father were in Feni.
Do you remember how you felt?
We were scared. Who was alive? Who died? We were scared. We were happy and we were worried.
Even though he was a member of the Muslim League, he was against the occupation. He protected people from the Pakistani army, right?
He was a good man. That's why he was saved.
Do you remember when the war was over?
We heard the news. I think it was through BBC News and through Mukti Bahini's news.
Was it by television or radio?
Oh no, dear. We did not have television. I hid my mother's savings under the mattress when the war was over. I took everything out and left 100 taka notes inside. There were different reactions from different people. There were mixed feelings. There was a lot of joy, but we did not know what to expect.
Part 3, Exit. Did you ever think you were going to leave Bangladesh? When did you decide to leave Bangladesh?
I thought I might study abroad and then come back.
I didn't decide to leave. I got married, 1987.
No, I never thought I was going to leave.
Did you ever think you were going to leave Bangladesh? When did you decide to leave Bangladesh?
I got married, 1987. Within 2 months, I came with him. I came as a tourist, and later I applied for a green card. When I was married, even then, I thought I would finish high school.
In 1979, we came to America. I was married in 1974. We stayed in Dhaka University. We never thought about leaving. When we got married, your dad applied every year for scholarships. One was for Belgium, and one was for America. I asked Ishtiaque about it. He asked me, where do you want to go? I said America. So he said, okay, then go there. My father was excited. He was more excited than me.
I left Bangladesh in 1972. I got married. We got married within a week. Those days, we were all programmed to accept this as a common thing. Life had been disrupted by the war. Going to England, it was one step ahead. I never thought it would be this hard.
So you went from Dhaka to London to Mosul to Kuala Lumpur. What brought you to the US?
I think your uncle has a problem.
Part 4, Arrival. Did you ever imagine you would live in the United States? When did you realize you were not moving back?
My brother was already in America. My father had died. I wanted my mother to come live with us. Things seemed so long ago. Was I that person?
Before marriage, I never imagined I would leave. We watched TV and sitcoms. There was a show called Dallas, MacIver, $6 Million Man, Wonder Woman. We had a little idea about America. America was neater than Bangladesh. The roads were nice, the beaches were nice. There's one thing to see on TV, and it's another thing to see with your own eyes.
I came. I never thought I wanted to stay. Then your daddy did a PhD. We thought we will stay. Then he applied for a job. Then we stayed. There was no plan.
Did you ever imagine you would live in the United States? When did you realize you were not moving back?
When I got my green card, your dad applied for a green card. We went to visit Bangladesh and we came back. We were still thinking we might go home. If I didn't come with your daddy, he would not have stayed ever. He was scared to be alone. He can't do anything without me.
When I came from Bangladesh, I was in an apartment.
In Miami, right?
Yes, in Miami. It was smaller than our apartment in Bangladesh, but it was neat. I couldn't speak English at all. Most of the things I used to like. Everything seemed beautiful. Like, for example, in the house, there was a vacuum. We didn't have that in Bangladesh. Washing machine, dryer, maybe those who were rich, they might have had those things, but the middle class, we didn't have those things. We didn't have hot water.
When did you realize you were not moving back?
I knew I would go to visit Bangladesh, but I would not stay ever permanently. Once the kids started school, we didn't think we would return. Now our situation is different. If your uncle thinks about it now, I would go back. I always missed home, but my priorities were my kids, their education, your uncle's job. Now they are older, settled down, finished with their studies. But if your uncle doesn't want to go, I won't go.
When I came here, I was always scared. How are they going to wash my body when I die? Then I wanted to see. A baby had open heart surgery. She died. Her mother was very young. And Maulana received the news. He called your dad and said, bring your wife. I brought the parents to our home. Then we dropped them off at their hotel. Then I learned the baby was so beautiful. I bathed several babies. I bathed your Salim uncle's baby. We bathed all kinds of bodies. I got more involved. I got more courage. I've watched so many women, but I cannot tell their secrets. We keep their secrets.
Part 5, Death and Burial. In our community, a lot of people talk about wanting to be buried back home. Have you ever felt or wanted that?
I always believed that this is a sad situation. 20, 25 years ago, I didn't know how bodies are processed to be sent. Now I know, and I think it is not right. My friend, she was sent back, and her own family said, "Why did you send her?" Now I think if I die, bury me here. If I die visiting Bangladesh, bury me there.
In our community, a lot of people talk about wanting to be buried back home. Have you ever felt or wanted that?
A lot of people, like me, have none of their family members here. They worry about who will visit them. Family members pressure others to send them back. I told your uncle, if anything happens to me, you will bury me here. My husband didn't want to talk about it. I told Tasnim the same. The sad thing is, I have never mentioned this to my sisters. Now, speaking with you, I feel I should be clear.
In our community, a lot of people talk about wanting to be buried back home. Have you ever felt or wanted that?
That was never a question because my mother came to live with me in Boston. I don't know how it came to me, but my mother did not think she was going back. When she died, my brother was in Texas. He came to take her to Bangladesh. I think my mother subconsciously knew she was not going back. She didn't want to go anywhere else. I wanted to buy the plot beside her in Boston. I wanted to be buried beside her. I am here in Florida now. I don't want my body to go to Boston now, although my friends would be very happy.
Have you ever discussed this with your husband or kids?
No, I haven't, but I think they would know. Yes, she would like to be buried here. I talked mostly about it with your mom.
If you could choose where you could be buried, where would that be?
I never thought I would move from Sharon. You never know. If Allah wants, I might go to Boston and die there. One of my friends, her husband died in South India while on vacation, and he was buried there, and she came back.
Your own mother is buried here in America, in Boston. It seems you have permission to be wherever you are. What was the first funeral you attended in the United States?
My mom's funeral is the first I attended in the US, and the first the Bangladeshis of Boston attended. If it happens, it will happen. I have enormous faith in Allah.
If you could choose where you could be buried, where would that be?
Makkah or Medina, if I had a choice, that's where.
If you could choose where you could be buried, where would that be?
Mecca or Medina.
What was the first funeral you attended in the United States?
The first one I remember most clearly is when Anu died. It was really unexpected. Anu was really young. It was shocking.
In our community, a lot of people talk about wanting to be buried back home. Have you ever felt or wanted that?
They think if we are buried in Bangladesh, that we will go to heaven. That is their country. It's a Muslim country. They don't understand. Before, people didn't understand. I've explained this to our community. They are worried about what happens to the body.
Because you believe the soul can still feel pain for the comfort of the dead?
Where I die, bury me there. This is how it has to be. That's why we have to leave behind righteous people. If 10 people say you are good, you go to heaven. You can visit a grave wherever you are.
So then it's good to be good to the people around you, right?
Yes, I used to tell my son, I don't want to die here. Send my body to Bangladesh. Anu used to say, when I die, send me too. He used to joke. Now I think I should not have said that. I used to say, why would I send you? This is your country.
What was the most beautiful funeral you saw?
The Maulana, who was taken to prison, when he died, thousands and thousands of people came. I've seen big funerals, but I've never seen one like this. The saddest funeral. A young man's wife died. She was young. She died of cancer. They fell in love with each other and then came here.
During the current pandemic, many people have been unable to attend funerals of loved ones or see them before they died. What does that make you think about?
My father died 2 years ago. I was here.
You couldn't be with him.
The car brought the body from the hospital to our home. Outside the house, that is where he was bathed. Then they took him to the graveyard. If anyone dies, they come home first. Even before the body arrives, the house becomes full, waiting for them. There's mental satisfaction. Here, it is really hard. Sometimes you are alone and have to deal with it on your own.
During the current pandemic, many people have been unable to attend funerals of loved ones or see them before they died. What does that make you think about?
The situation now, we are hearing even immediate family members cannot attend funerals. It is really heartbreaking. I don't really know what we can do. Even here, if you die, no one can visit. Even in Bangladesh, no one can visit.
We do funeral arrangements from home now. I don't go anywhere. Those who aren't afraid, they go to bathe the dead. People are mostly afraid that nobody will come to visit. For example, my roof uncle is sick. We can't visit him. Nobody is going to anybody's house. Nobody is coming to anyone's house. In Bangladesh, a daughter lives on the bottom floor. Parents live above, but they aren't visiting each other. Everywhere is the same.
Part 6, home. Where is home for you? Do you ever think, this is my home?
Out of my 70 years of life, the most I spent it is in Boston. I have a lot of homes.
I still never think this is my home. Whenever I go to Bangladesh, I never remember I have a home here. And I don't know why.
Home is Bangladesh. Here, my kids are here. My husband is here. That's a tough thing.
Does America ever feel like home for you?
No, maybe for staying, it is a better place, better opportunities. But I have no family members here.
But you spent most of your life here. It's amazing where our minds go. We think about a time and place where we were loved and surrounded by love.
Now your dad thinks about his childhood, about teaching there. He thinks about his old friends. I just stay here. I don't think this is my home. Whatever I have, I give it to my kids. I know this is your home. You won't leave here.
What about Florida or America do you like the most?
Everything is the same to me.
Part 7, who are you responsible for? Tell me about the first time you voted in the United States. How did it make you feel?
I think it was Clinton, not the first Bush. I would listen to your uncle. I wouldn't understand. I didn't find interest. For the men, it seems like voting is a really important thing. People who vote, they believe it is their duty.
We got our citizenship when Clinton was president. For my first vote, I registered as an independent. I voted for the Democrats. I call them the spineless Democrats. I was annoyed. I was disappointed in his choice for vice president.
I've seen a lot of presidents. Carter, Reagan, Father Bush, son Bush, Clinton, the black one, Obama, and now the crazy one. Last time, I knew the crazy one was going to win. Everything is a mess now. We will mail in our votes.
When people tell you they want to immigrate to the United States, how do you respond?
In this situation, I don't think this government is good to foreigners. I don't think it would be a good decision. Those of us who are here for a long time, we have seen what happened before and what is happening now. If I tell this to those who are in Bangladesh, they will say you can say that because you live there. Maybe for those who are struggling in Bangladesh, they might think even this situation is better. It really depends on one's situation.
I'll tell them, come over, if you're willing to tolerate insults and hard work. It was never a life of roses. I'm a tiny person. I had to be tough both physically and mentally to survive. If I could do it, you could do it. If you want to emigrate, don't expect the field of roses. There are many people who came and didn't like it, and they went back.
I think they are crazy. They have to survive and live first. Then we'll see.
Who do you feel responsible for? Who do you feel responsible for?
Most of my money still goes back home, except for masjids. I give money here, but for poor people and the needy people, because there is no social welfare or anything for them. Definitely, it goes back home. I cannot shift my ideas here yet the way that maybe I should, but I'm not there because I know the poverty. I do now ask your mom about the needy here, and I give her money to give to people here.
Who do you feel responsible for?
I am a housewife. Financially, I can't help anyone. I feel for both Bangladesh and here. Even if I wanted to help my family in Bangladesh, I cannot. So if my friends, if my neighbors need help, I can help. At some point, you have to let something go. Where we are buried, we don't have a choice. So where I am, I take the opportunities.
Who do you feel responsible for?
Because I live here, the people here are my first priority, then Bangladesh. I have money here. I eat here. I live here. They have a right over me, and I do it for my blessings. It will go to my grave. I don't think anywhere is my home. Now I think my real home is where my son is buried. That is my real home.